At 61 years old, I thought I'd seen everything life had to offer, and that love, if it was ever going to find me again, had long since passed. But then something happened. Something that I never imagined, not at this stage of my life. And now, every time I think about it, it unsettles me. I am 61 years old. Throughout my adult life, I've kept to myself with restraint and grace, maintaining composure, always following the rules, never disturbing the calm order of things. Love for me had become more of an idea, abstract, distant, like a melody you once knew but can no longer quite recall. My husband passed away 5 years ago, and since then, I've settled into a steady rhythm. My administrative work, my herb garden, quiet evenings spent with chamomile tea and classic films from decades ago. I thought that was it. I thought my days of being noticed, of being seen as more than just a woman of a certain age, were over. But then, a few weeks ago, something happened. Something that still shakes me whenever I let myself revisit it. I never imagined something like this would happen to me. Not at my age. Please, don't make the same mistake I did. Don't close yourself off to possibility. It was a rainy evening, the kind of gentle, persistent rain that makes everything feel quiet and reflective. I had stayed late at the office, fixing some financial discrepancies my colleagues had missed. My boss, Mr. Harrison Caldwell, had already left for a business dinner, but he'd called to let me know that his son Tyler would drive me home. I almost turned down the offer. I'm not one to accept favors, especially from Tyler. He's in his mid-20s, someone I'd met only a handful of times at company events or holiday gatherings. But when I stepped out of the building, my umbrella battling the wind, I saw his dark sedan parked at the entrance. Tyler was jogging toward me, youthful energy in every step, all lean and confident. T-1B. His canvas jacket was damp at the shoulders from the rain. "Good evening, Mrs. Patterson," he greeted, offering a warm smile. "Ready to go. I've got the heat running. Please, just call me Victoria," I replied, giving him a modest smile. "But thank you. This is very kind of you." I settled into the passenger seat, and Tyler got into the driver's side. The car was comfortably warm, smelling faintly of leather and citrus, perhaps cologne or breath mints. He adjusted the rearview mirror and smoothly merged into traffic, his hands steady on the wheel. I glanced toward him. "I hope this isn't too much trouble." "Not at all," he said, looking over briefly. Honestly, I was glad for the excuse to drive. We rode in silence at first, the steady swoosh of the windshield wipers filling the quiet. Streetlights created glimmering reflections on the wet pavement, and the city felt slower, more contemplative. I found myself sneaking glances at him when I thought he wouldn't notice, the way his jaw tightened when he focused on the road, or the subtle dimple that appeared when something amusing came over the radio. "You've worked with my dad for a long time," Tyler said suddenly, breaking the silence. "Nearly 2 decades, I replied, nodding. He thought for a moment. "He talks about you a lot. Says you're the backbone of the whole operation." I laughed softly, a little embarrassed. Well, someone has to keep things running smoothly. He smiled, but there was something behind his expression, something beneath his calm demeanor that made me feel like he was holding back. I could sense it before he spoke again. "My dad doesn't really know me," Tyler said quietly, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. "Not in the way you probably think." I shifted in my seat, intrigued. "What do you mean by that?" He hesitated, then pulled the car into a small parking lot next to a public park. The rain had lightened to a mist, and the glow from the dashboard painted his face in blue shadows. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice soft. "This is probably strange. I wasn't planning on saying any of this, but now that we're here, I just can't keep it inside anymore. I've thought about you for a long time," he said. "I know it probably sounds crazy. You're older. You work with my dad. I understand all the complications, but I've noticed you at those company events. The way you carry yourself, there's this quiet strength, this resilience. I don't know how to explain it. I just wanted you to know that." I didn't know how to respond. I found myself speechless. The rain had stopped completely, leaving only the hum of the car's heater and the rush of blood in my ears. It felt like everything was happening in slow motion. Tyler turned toward me, but he didn't move closer, didn't try to touch me. His voice was steady, respectful. "I don't expect anything from you," he said. "I just wanted you to hear this. You matter." You deserve to hear that from someone who truly sees you." My chest tightened, not just from his words, but from the realization that maybe, after all this time, I still longed to be seen. To be more than just capable and dependable. To feel something. I looked at him then, really looked at him. His eyes weren't pleading, weren't demanding. They were simply open, vulnerable. And in that moment, I felt something shift inside me, something I hadn't felt in years. I didn't sleep that night. After Tyler dropped me off, I stood in my entryway for a long time, my coat still around my shoulders, staring at the door. After it clicked shut behind me, the house was quiet, dark except for the soft amber light near the stairs. Everything was as it had always been. But something inside me had changed, and I couldn't ignore it. His words kept running through my mind. "I've thought about you for a long time. You deserve to hear that from someone who sees it." No one had said anything like that to me in years. Maybe never. Certainly not from someone so young and full of life. The next morning, I went through my routine, but everything felt different. I found myself distracted, my thoughts drifting to Tyler's words, his eyes, his unexpected honesty. At work, I kept my distance from Harrison. I felt exposed, as though I was wearing something transparent, even though I looked exactly as I always did, neat blouse, cardigan, sensible shoes. But inside, I wasn't the same. Midweek, Tyler sent me a message. "I hope I didn't make things uncomfortable. I'm really sorry if I crossed a line." I stared at it for a long time before I finally typed my response. "I didn't cross any lines. Thank you for your honesty. I'm still processing everything." I didn't expect him to reply, but he did. "Take your time. I just wanted you to know I meant what I said." That evening, I sat outside on my porch, wrapped in a blanket, listening to the wind rustling the bare branches. I thought about love, about how I had once viewed it, and how, as I'd grown older, it had become something distant. For people younger than me, people still figuring themselves out. In your 60s, you start to feel like you disappear. But Tyler hadn't seen me that way. He had seen me as if I were still vibrantly present. A few days later, Harrison's assistant called in sick, leaving us short-staffed for a client lunch meeting. Harrison had other commitments, so I volunteered to take some paperwork downtown. When I stepped out of the building, there was Tyler again, casually leaning against his car, hands in his jacket pockets, waiting for me as though he had known I'd need a ride. "Need a lift? Need a lift?" he asked with that warm, tentative smile. I should have said no. I should have kept things professional, set some boundaries. But instead, I found myself nodding, walking toward the passenger side of his car. We drove in the same comfortable silence we had shared before, neither of us rushing to fill the quiet. The city passed by, but everything felt different with him next to me. "Have you thought about what I said?" Tyler asked gently. "I've thought about little else," I admitted. He nodded slowly, and I turned to look at him. "I'm terrified," I confessed. "Not of you, but of what this might mean, of what it might cost." "To whom?" he asked. His question caught me off guard. Who was I trying to protect? My husband had been gone for 5 years. My children were grown. I had no one to explain myself to, except myself. "To myself," I answered quietly. "Maybe," he said, "you should be kinder to yourself. Maybe you deserve to feel something again." After dropping off the paperwork, Tyler didn't drive me straight back to the office. Instead, he pulled into a quiet coffee shop, tucked away on a side street I hadn't noticed before. "Will you have coffee with me?" he asked. No pressure, just conversation. I agreed, and we spent the next couple of hours talking about everything and nothing. His dreams beyond his father's company, my abandoned hopes of traveling, the expectations we both felt burdened by. At one point, he reached across the table and placed his hand over mine. Just a gesture of connection, not romantic, just human. "I'm not trying to complicate your life," he said. "I'm just offering you honesty and companionship if you want it." We continued meeting, little coffees, long talks, walks in the gardens near my neighborhood. Each time, it felt like I was letting go of another layer of protection. And one night, he asked if he could come to my home, just to talk in private, somewhere comfortable. I hesitated. Inviting him in would mean crossing a line I'd kept for years. But something in me wanted to cross it. "Yes," I said. "You can come over tomorrow." I spent the day cleaning, changing clothes, second-guessing everything. When he arrived with a small bag at 7 p.m., I opened the door with trembling hands. "I brought tea," he said, holding up the bag. "I remember you like Earl Grey." His small, thoughtful gesture hit me harder than I expected. We sat across from each other, keeping a careful distance at first, me in my chair, him on the sofa. There was space, but also an electric tension between us. "I didn't come here to pressure you," he said softly. "I just wanted to talk." I nodded, clutching my tea as though it could steady me. "I never thought I'd feel like this again," I whispered. "That anyone would look at me with real interest." Tyler leaned forward slightly, his eyes sincere. "It's not finished, Victoria. You have no idea how remarkable you are." I turned away, blinking back tears. "No one ever told me that, not even my husband. But you do now," Tyler said gently. "And that's okay." The tears fell silently, not from sadness, but from the realization that I had been unseen for so long. Tyler didn't rush to comfort me, just allowed the quiet to hang in the air, respectful. After a while, I moved to the window, watching the rain glisten on the glass. My voice barely a whisper. "I want to close this door, but part of me wants to know what it feels like to be seen again." Tyler was still behind me, waiting. "Then let's begin there, with honesty," he said. I turned and took a step toward him, then another, until we were just inches apart. I met his eyes, my voice steady but quiet. "I don't know where this leads." "You don't have to," he whispered. "Just let it exist." In that moment, with the rain falling steadily outside, I allowed myself to feel something I hadn't in a long time, the possibility of connection. Tyler didn't touch me. He simply stood there beside me, and that was enough. More than enough. As the days passed, everything felt more conscious, more alive. Tyler didn't overwhelm me with attention, but he was there in small, meaningful ways. A text in the morning, a photo of a book he thought I'd enjoy, calls to hear my voice. I found myself wanting that connection. One Thursday, after a long day, I found him waiting for me in the parking lot again. He smiled as I approached. "You look tired," he said. "I am," I smiled back. "But seeing you helps." We didn't talk much on the drive. The silence between us had become comfortable, peaceful. When we arrived at my house, Tyler turned off the engine but didn't get out right away. The silence stretched, holding the promise of something unspoken, something real.